Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour podcast. I am Kyle Anthony, your host, where today we are talking UFC 309. We're talking Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title, an event that I will be at. Very excited about it. Got my tickets, and I will be there watching our bets cash in. So if you want to become a client, link down in the description. I have a 5% play up right now, 12-1 over this year on 5% plays, up over 71 units this year in MMA, and been having a great year. We got 4 events left. We're going to finish strong, add to our bankrolls, and I'm excited about it. So with that being said, let's dive into the main event of the evening between Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic. Now, this is a fight here where you've got a massive number here. You got Jon Jones minus 700, and I kind of believe rightfully so. Now, I know maybe it's a little wide, but I do believe it's rightfully so here. You've got, Jon Jones, who I do believe really covers Stipe everywhere. And, when we're just first talking stylistically, I think that the first thing that he can do to go out there and really dominate is going to be wrestling. We've seen what he was able to do against Ciryl Gall in his last fight here, where Gall is another guy who wants to stand, who wants to strike. Yes, Stipe's probably got more power, but you do have the better footwork of Gall. You've got the versatile striking of Ciryl Gall, and Jones wanted no part of that. He went path of least resistance. He dove at the legs right away, was able to get the takedowns. He was able to get 2 takedowns in the first 2 minutes and find the submission finish. Very impressive overall, and really ran through him. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen to Stipe that quickly, but I do believe the path is there to get that control time, to work from top position, ground and pound, maybe sink in a submission. I do believe that's there. Now, the other part of it here on the feet is that, from what we all know of Jon Jones, incredible distance management, great footwork. He mixes up his combinations, mixes up the body parts he's attacking here, and really has a lot of advantages when it's just with the footwork and that range game. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. And Stipe on the other side here, very more slow plodding, kind of style here, where he's very heavy on his feet. I think that Jones can be able to chop away at those legs, find big shots overall. But when you're looking at Stipe, some of the big red flags is going to be the fact that he hasn't fought since 2021. Last time he was in the cage was against Francis Ngannou. He was knocked out by him, not the greatest showing overall. And now it's been about 3 years and 7 months since Stipe has stepped in the cage. Now, for me, you're talking about ring rust. It doesn't get much worse than that. You've got an extremely long layoff for him. And then also the fact that now Stipe's 42 years old, not the greatest look for him again. You got Jon Jones, 37. Stipe is a guy that, yes, he's got power. Yes, he has credentials, but I just don't see where he's going to have any type of advantage in this fight here. So where I'm going with this play here is you got to look at the spot that Jones has to put a stamp on this fight. I believe he really has to put a stamp on this fight with what's going on with Aspinall, what's going on with the conversations about him and everything. And if he just pitter-patters a 5-round win, I think it's really going to have some negative effects for Jon Jones. He has to run through Stipe. So I like Jon Jones to get the job done inside the first 3 rounds. It's minus 140, minus 145, depending where you're shopping it. I like that number. I think that is a strong number, a likely path. And I do believe that as this fight goes on, Jon will really start to find opportunities in the first, in the second, and somewhere in there, he's going to go out there and get that finish. So I like Jon Jones to win within the first 3 rounds at minus 140. Next one here we're going to talk about is going to be Marcin Tybura minus 140 against Jhonata Diniz plus 120. Now, this is a fight here where, you got the vet in Tybura, and you've got the glory kickboxer in Jhonata Diniz. Now, I know everybody gets very excited to hear glory kickboxing, and you've got images in your head of Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya and all those things. And going back and watching tape on Jhonata Diniz, I don't see it. I'm not impressed by him. I was actually picking him over, I was picking Derek Lewis over Diniz if that fight took place about 2 weeks ago. It changed, and I actually think this is a worse matchup for Diniz. When I'm looking at it here, you've got a guy who was going to stand and throw pretty much with Lewis. Now you've got a guy who's going to look to grapple. Now, you look at what Diniz, he's had some suspect moments there. Yes, he's undefeated, and it looks great and all, but, he had a fight against Austin Lane in his debut, and Austin Lane is not good. And Austin Lane went out there and was able to secure a takedown within the first, right out the gate, pretty much, and had an entire round of control time on Diniz. Not good. Lane really has no submission ability at all, but he was able to bank that round. And to me, Tybura, that opens up things for Tybura because that's what he's going to do. And if Austin Lane was able to do that, I believe that Tybura should be able to as well. But yes, Lane got tired, got knocked out in the second round. But even his other fight against Carl Williams is a wrestler and was a guy that was apparently told by the UFC not to wrestle. Conspiracy theories or not, but in that third round, he secured a couple takedowns and it looked pretty good for him. And you can see that Diniz does not know how to defend takedowns, does not really know what to do when he's on the ground, what the steps are to get back to your feet. And I think that really plays into the exact game plan that Marcin Tybura likes to do. He's going to smother pressure. He's going to get on you. He's going to close the distance. He's going to seek takedowns. He's going to, look to get in the clinch, dirty box with you, and just consistently do that and really look to wear on you. And I think that's also something that can work here where Diniz, you did see as fights were going on for him, the pace and everything else started to slow down here. And I think that if he's going to be wrestling extensively throughout this fight, I think that he can smother Diniz. He can really do what he needs to do, dominate the control time, look to really work him. And if any fight gets to the ground at any point, I think it could be possibly a finish, but more likely banking the round for Tybura. So in this spot here, I like Marcin Tybura minus 140 to get the job done. Now, the next one here we're going to talk about is Eryk Anders minus 115 against Chris Weidman minus 104. Now, this line opened up Eryk Anders minus 205, and money has consistently come in on Chris Weidman. And now we're looking at a pick'em price tag in this spot. Now, off of his last fight, he fought Bruno Silva, as in Weidman fought Bruno Silva in his last fight. And that was actually a fight I was at. It was in Atlantic City, front row, cheering on Weidman. And boy, I thought he looked like shit because I did bet him there at plus 200. Now we're talking about an even money spot in this particular spot here. But Bruno Silva was like 1-6 out of his last 7. Didn't look good, but Weidman was out there eye poking the world. He was out there. He didn't care what the ref was saying. I was cheering on those eye pokes left and right. It was crazy. But the fact he goes out there, he gets the win, was an ugly performance. But I remember watching that fight and looking at Weidman and thinking, this guy looks washed. He looks frail. He doesn't look like he really has that strength anymore in him. And it just didn't look good. And it was a win over a terrible fighter that was, yes, the scorecards really highly favored him, but it was an ugly fight, a very ugly fight. And my stock in Chris Weidman, I have sold at this particular point here. And now we're looking at it where I do think age is getting to Weidman a little bit. I do think that, the wear and tear is getting to him a little bit. The injuries, he's had surgeries on his legs. He's had all these problems outside of the cage when it comes to just like his physical ability. And I think that that's starting to really catch up with him. Plus you got him now. He's, Weidman is a former champion and they got him tucked middle of the prelims, not the greatest for him overall, because I think the UFC is kind of done with him also. But stylistically, I do think that Anders brings a little bit more to the table here. I think that his physicality is going to be there. I'm not sure if he's going to completely out wrestle Weidman. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but I do think he's going to be able to get some control time, push him up against the fence, dirty box a little bit, kick the legs, mix it up a little bit. I think that, his pressure style, his pressure-based style, as in Anders, is going to work to cut that distance, to get on him. And I do think there are going to be opportunities to go out there and get the job done. It's going to be sloppy at times. It's definitely going to be sloppy at times, but I do think that Anders is going to be the spot here. He's going to be the more dangerous guy. I think that the bigger moments will probably come from Anders. And if anybody gets hurt, I think it's going to be Weidman here. So at this point here, we're seeing a minus 115 number. I've been watching the market here, seeing where it's going. I like this price right here. At this point, I think it's a big discount we're getting here, but also you could see this flip. You could see Weidman all of a sudden become the favorite, could see some plus money on Anders. But with that being said, either way, I do like Eryk Anders to get the job done, especially at this number. And the last one here we're going to be talking about is going to be Mickey Gall minus 132 against Ramiz Brahimaj. He's plus 105 or 106 or whatever it is that you have at your sports book. This is spot here. We got two guys. They're both grapplers and both have negative striking differentials. Not the greatest thing you want to see from either guy. But there is just so many red flags, I think, on the Brahimaj side. And I think the first thing is really going to be, was his last fight against Thimba Garimbo. Now, we bet Thimba in that spot. Great. We got the win. But you got to look at the fact that Brahimaj, one, was coming off like a 2-year layoff. And that alone isn't good, where he had some outside of the cage situation going on. But besides for that, Thimba goes out there, secures 5 of 6 takedowns, controlled the action, controlled the clinch, was outlanding him on the feet, was really to kind of did what he wanted. Yeah, there were sloppy moments, but it was still pretty much one-way traffic, all Thimba, getting the control time, and really just latching on. And I do think that that's where you're going to see something like Gall could possibly do. And, you even had Thimba had 10 minutes of control time. Brahimaj landed 3 of 6 significant strikes. Significant strikes. That's not takedown attempts. That's significant strikes. 3 of 6. Terrible showing for Brahimaj overall. And now you got Gall, who I think is going to be a better wrestler than Brahimaj. I think he's got better cardio. I think he can push a pace a little bit. He can secure some takedowns. And I think those are the things that are going to really open up opportunities. But one of the other things that I think that Gall has is I think he's got better striking. And I think the striking for Gall consistently seems to get better. Not that he's some high-level striker, but you can see he's putting it together a little bit better. He grew up in the UFC pretty much. So, he's been facing some tough guys throughout his career and his run up here. And I think this actually fits very well into what he wants to do overall. Do you think that the 2-inch reach advantage is going to help him? I think he can implement some better striking, push the pace a little bit. And the other thing, and as I touched on a little bit, was the cardio. I think that the cardio of Brahimaj, he is really a first round or bust kind of guy. He's got 10 professional victories, 9 of which took place in the first round by submission. The 10th was in the second round. And I just don't see that him running through Mickey Gall in that first round. I think Gall is going to work at range, utilize his jab, mix it up a little bit, and get this fight to have some legs. Get it into the second, get it into the third, and really start to find opportunities where Brahimaj is going to slow down. He absolutely slows down. It's been something that he's done, pretty much throughout his career. You've seen anything that's extended, it doesn't go well for him. It doesn't look well for him. He's 0-4 to the decision. That also talks about that's saying that he's not a minute winner. He's definitely not a minute winner. You can go out there and latch something in, but I think Mickey Gall's, grappling ability is going to be better. His wrestling is going to be better. I think his cardio and his striking is going to be better. So in this spot here, I do like Mickey Gall. I think that Gall is going to have the opportunity to get the job done. So at -132, I'm taking Mickey Gall to get the victory. So there you have it for UFC 309. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. Again, we're up 71 units this year. We got a 5% this weekend, and we've got 4 events left in 2024, ready to finish strong. And let's keep this going, man. Let's get the job done, finish strong, and enjoy the holidays. So 4 more left. Let's cash.